everybody. Welcome to Art at Home with Allie. I'm at home, and I bet you're at home too. And actually, art is my home. And when I say that, I mean the ability to be able to create and express myself is where I feel the most at home. And I'm excited to share some ideas about art making with you. I believe everyone's an artist. So come on, let's get started. Hi, this lesson is called, What Do You Do with a Crayon? I love crayons. I think they're a material that most of you should have in your home. They're often the material we all start off with when we're very young. And even as an adult, I still love drawing with crayons. And I'm going to show you some basic approaches and fun techniques that you can use with crayons. Still like the smell. Let's talk about the supplies you're going to need for this project. You will need crayons and something to draw on. You could draw on drawing paper, of course, or the paper that comes from a computer printer, or even the back of old homework. Sometimes I like to draw on top of something that's already been printed. Like this is a health insurance information sheet that I saved. I liked it because on the back it has all the same information in different languages. So I thought that could be kind of interesting to draw on. You could use notebook paper. It could be the back of an envelope. There's a big envelope and a smaller one. So if you look around your house, you might find some things other than a sheet of paper to draw on, and you could do some experiments. Even cutting up an old cereal box and drawing on the blank cardboard side could be fun. So as far as crayons, any brand of crayon is going to work fine. I have my box of Crayola crayons here. I also have these beeswax crayons, which I couldn't find in stores. I ordered them online, and they are a bit expensive, but I wanted to see how they worked. So they're similar to regular crayons. However, they're bigger. They don't come with a wrapper, and they smell great because they're made from beeswax. So these are just sticks, and then I also bought them in a block form. And there's lots of different types of crayons you can find in stores. Most crayons are made from paraffin wax, and paraffin is a type of wax that's made from petroleum. So it doesn't have the same smell as beeswax. But both types of crayons have pigment added to them, which is the color that gives us the colored crayons. And I actually think Crayola crayons smell wonderful too. So gather up some crayons and find some paper, and you can draw along with me. Or you might choose to just watch the lessons and then pause it when you want and draw after I'm done. So let's explore some simple mark making with crayons. I'm going to just use 3 colors to start off with: blue, yellow, and red. Does anybody know what's so special about those 3 colors together? If you answered that they're the primary colors, that's correct. These are the colors that all the other colors are made from. So first, I'm just going to practice drawing different types of lines. Maybe I'm going to draw a curvy line to start with. And that was kind of medium pressure. If I put soft pressure on it, I'm going to get a light mark. You can barely see that perhaps. Maybe I'll do the same thing with the red. So I'm not trying to make a picture here. I'm just practicing making different marks. Maybe I'll make some lines across it. So some lines are straight up and down. Who knows what kind of line that is? A line that goes straight up and down. A vertical line. And if I have a line that goes this way, what kind of line is this? Horizontal. And then of course, If I have a line that's going like this, that would be a diagonal line. I put some diagonal lines over the horizontal lines so they're overlapping. I could make dashed lines. I could make zigzag lines, and here I'm pressing down pretty hard. I can also start coloring areas in by pressing down hard. So even though I'm not trying to make a picture, you might see something while you're drawing different lines and shapes, and that might give your imagination an idea. Or maybe it'll just be relaxing to you to practice drawing these shapes. Oh, I can continue with a curvy line here. Maybe I will make some little dots. I think I will make some spirals. I could even put lines coming out from it. Almost looks like a sun, or just a fun design. I can make long lines, short lines. I can turn those lines into shapes. Those are already kind of a triangle shape. Maybe I'll do some half circle shapes. And actually, when you put all those half circle shapes together, that kind of line, it is kind of a curvy line, but it's also called a scallop, like a scalloped line. So you might decide to color some areas in. You could even do a pattern. Blue, white, blue, white, blue. What happens if I color yellow over the blue? Oh. It did work. I wasn't sure how well it would work with crayon. I'm used to using a lot of oil pastels to mix colors, but it worked pretty well with the crayon. So yellow and blue make green. So that is a secondary color. Green is a secondary color. The secondary colors are colors that are made by mixing the primary colors. So let's try light blue here and light blue here, and I will mix red. We'll see if it works. I might have to add some more blue. Mixing colors with crayons is definitely different than mixing them with paint or oil pastels, which is an immediate result. Crayons don't blend very well. They're just kind of layered. So that's why I'm very softly layering them. So it kind of makes purple. And then we have one other set of primary colors we haven't mixed yet, and that is the yellow and red. So I'm going to color this in yellow. I'll add a little bit of red. And notice I am using very light pressure here. But I will show you in a moment what happens if I use heavy pressure. Well, now I am using heavy pressure with the yellow. I don't want to press down hard with the red because the red will overpower it. I'm sure you can guess that this is supposed to turn an orangish color, and it's kind of working. Let's see what happens if I press down really hard with the red and then add some yellow, and I'm pressing down hard with the yellow. I'll kind of go off the edge here just for something interesting too. That didn't work quite as well. I still like coloring over other colors to see what marks I will get and what colors I will get. So I like layering crayons. Oh, you can kind of see there's some color changing going on there a little bit. So I have my fun experimental abstract crayon picture here, and I've only used the primary colors. I could definitely use the other colors. If you're going to try this, that's going to be up to you, obviously, but sometimes it's fun to kind of limit your color choice. I mean, that box of crayons comes with 64 different colors. That's a lot of choice. So that's why it could be fun. And I'm just filling in all these spaces with different marks and lines. And it's a form of doodling. I'm just kind of making it up as I go. Let's use some other shapes. I could repeat an oval shape here. And I was going to bring other colors in, but I'm really actually liking just these primary colors. And the nice thing about this too is maybe you feel like, oh, I don't know what to draw, or maybe you even feel like I really struggle with drawing. Well, this is a good place to start to give you some confidence. If you can write your name, you can draw an abstract picture. Because when we make words, we're using lines and putting them together to make a shape that forms a word. So everybody can make an abstract picture. It's interesting too how even though everybody might make something that's abstract, all the drawings are going to still look totally different because we're all different people and we all think differently, right? So I could keep going. I think I might speed it up and show you me working on it, and then we'll move on to another thing. All right, I think I am done with this. You might have noticed when you saw me drawing that sometimes I scribbled. I even started to peel off the side of a crayon to draw with a bigger area. We'll talk a little bit about that more. And then you might notice that I'd be drawing on one part and then I'd completely go over to another side. Sometimes I'll see an area that needs another color on top of it. I really enjoy layering colors and just seeing where my imagination takes me by just making different types of lines and shapes and overlapping colors with the three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. So let's try another crayon technique. So for this one, I'm going to use some tape. And the less sticky tape, the better, because it's going to be coming off your picture. Of course, you could leave it on there if you like it. So you might have seen this tape technique. People use it with painting. They use it with drawing. I've seen people even put tape on their sidewalks and use it with sidewalk chalk. So basically what I'm doing is masking off some shapes and lines, and then I'm going to color around them and peel off the tape. I could, if I wanted to, even cut or tear the tape to make it smaller. I could make little shapes. I mean, depends how involved you want to get. A lot of people like to write their name with the tape, or you could put a bunch of pieces together and cut out a big shape. This is just a little teeny bit about using tape. All right. So I'm just going to color over top of it. And here I'm coloring back and forth in the same way to kind of get a smooth area. It depends on the look you want. And of course, the harder you press down, the darker it's going to be. So I think that kind of would be interesting to have some dark areas fading into some lighter areas. So I guess I'm ending up pushing down harder around the tape. And maybe I'll try the layering. This color is red violet, and I'm going to use some yellow. Oh, I like how that looks together. And maybe I will just go like this. I'm doing this pretty fast, just to give you an idea of what you could do. So any of the things I'm offering, I'm not expecting you to copy me exactly. Of course, if you are inspired and want to do so, that's totally fine. But what I like about learning new art techniques is you can take it and use it in your own way. And I'm still like continually amazed at all the interesting things that people all over the world create. It's pretty amazing. Well, I'm really curious to see how this is going to look when I pull the tape off. One thing you might notice too as you're working, some colors are softer than others. Like this red-violet color is really soft. And I'm wondering if it has to do with the pigment, the color that's put in the crayon, if it helps make it softer. Not all of them are as soft as that. Okay. Let's see what happens. This is my favorite part. Now you don't want to leave the tape on too long because you risk tearing the paper. If you have painter's tape, that is the best tape because it's made to come off of walls. Ooh, this is working. This is just colored masking tape. It looks like green painter's tape, but it's not. Oh, it's tearing the paper a little bit. That's okay. We'll use that as part of the design. See how slowly I have to peel it off? I'm being careful. Otherwise it might just rip the paper. Oh, that's fun. I could leave the white spots white, or I might add designs in them. I could write words in them. I could draw pictures in them. Almost looks like a stained glass window. That is really fun. I'm going to leave it just like that for right now and move on to another crayon technique. All right, so we're going to try a few more techniques on this piece of paper. We're going to try twirling, tracing, and rubbing. So let's start with the tracing first. You can just take things from around the house. This is just an old cap from a water bottle or something. I'm not even sure what. So it's kind of fun to trace different shapes and objects. And I've picked out circles. You can overlap them, move them around the paper, color them in, use them to build an image. I'm not worrying about it being perfect. Maybe I'll color this area in. I'm just kind of experimenting here. I could take some of the thinking from the past part of the lesson, just doodling, making different types of lines and shapes with those traced marks. Oh, this is like a chocolate chip cookie. With some sprinkles. All right, maybe I will use a bigger, maybe I'll go down here actually. That could be kind of interesting. Carry it over into the other part of the picture. doesn't have to just be circles. You could find all sorts of things to trace. I'm just using that to show you. If any of you are fans of Kinder Joy, I always save the packages because I think they're kind of interesting. And maybe I'll use that to trace with. This one's kind of hard to hold in place. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go around it a couple times. Oh, that's interesting. I could even use the little scooper thing that comes out of there. I like to save things and wash them and put them in a box and then see what I can make with them or use them for later. So I could continue tracing shapes all over this paper. Let's talk about twirling with a crayon. And you can rip off part of the wrapper and try to twist it or twirl it like this, just to make some interesting marks. Or if you want to, if you're willing to break your own crayon and take off the wrapper, then you have a small piece to work with and you can twist that. Let's see how it works. And then I'll show you with the beeswax crayons, since those don't have wrappers on them. This one's actually hard to get off. Okay. You can't see it. I picked the wrong color. Let's try it again. I'm going to pick out another color and I'll take off the wrapper and come back. All right, so I have a piece of blue and you can see the wrapper came right off. So now you can see a little better. That's an interesting mark, right? So you can experiment twirling it. That's interesting. This mark looks a lot like the shape I just traced here. So let's try it with one of these beeswax crayons. Well, that's interesting too. And maybe you have old crayons around your house that are just mixed together in a box. Maybe you use those crayons and you take the wrappers off of those and practice rubbing and twisting with those. So as far as the rubbing goes, you want to look for different objects or items around your house that have a texture. This is a piece of corrugated cardboard. I think it came in some type of packaging. And I'm not sure if it'll work on this paper. This paper's kind of thick. It often works better with thinner papers. But then oh, it's working. I'm going to rub it. You can see exactly what happens. It picks up the texture of whatever's underneath it. I like that. I like kind of filling in with this rubbing. Maybe I will try a lighter color. I'll go back to the beeswax crayon. And I'll even get out one of the block crayons. Let's see. I'll use black. I haven't used black at all. Maybe I'll go over top. Oh, that's kind of neat. I was going to switch to a different object to do a rubbing with, but I'm actually really liking just the corrugated cardboard showing up throughout the picture. I think it's really fun. Wasn't expecting that to happen. But other items you could use, just so you know, like I found this paper doily. I don't even know where I got it. I probably saved it from something. You could use leaves. Of course, we don't have any leaves right now that are full grown. That would be something you do in the summer. You could use textured fabric or different textures of plastic, or even go outside with a piece of paper and a crayon and do a rubbing. You could rub tree bark or different parts of nature. And then maybe you could play a guessing game with somebody to see if they can figure out where your rubbing came from. Even objects like putting a key under a piece of paper and doing a rubbing, or a button. You could really experiment with doing different rubbings. I think that would be fun. I happen to have this penny sitting here because I'm actually going to use it for a crayon technique, but I thought let's just see how it turns out if I do a rubbing of it. And I'm going to just use a normal crayon here. Oh, that's pretty cool. So it did work. So if that is interesting to you, I would suggest, just like I said, getting a collection of different items that you could do a rubbing of. So the reason I have the penny is because I wanted to show you something else, and I will also be showing you in a moment how you can take all these techniques and actually make them into a picture that's not abstract. And when I say abstract, like the last two drawings I did were abstract. Abstract means art that has been abstracted or changed from real life or reality. Sometimes abstract art has no recognizable image in it. You might see an image, but it wasn't the artist's intention or idea to make it look like something. And then other times, abstracted art is art that's been changed from reality. Like, this bee girl image that's on the crayon box. That's abstracted. It's kind of cartoon-like, but it's definitely abstract in the way that it doesn't represent reality, right? So there's different types of abstract art. Anyway, I'm going to just color an area in solid with the crayon. And I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. And I'm push down really hard. So let's say you're coloring a sky with all different shades and you've pushed down really hard. And then when you're done, just to give it a different look, you could take a penny or a coin or something that you can scrape with, and you can scrape off the first layer of crayon, and it leaves this really smooth surface. It almost looks like it was printed when you're done. I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't look quite the same as the other crayon marks, does it? It's very smoothed out. So you could even do this, I think, with blending colors. And I think you could also experiment with just like scraping away stripes of it. I want to see what happens. I'm going to just do an experiment. That's kind of interesting looking. I kind of like that just as it is. Maybe, since I like that little part, looking for my scissors, maybe I'll just cut this out. You can see it a little better. That one just really does not want to show up. This reminds me of that book called The Dot. I bet some of you have read that book. All right, maybe I could make this, you know what this looks like? It looks like a little planet. Ooh, maybe I'll use the side of this crayon and make it Saturn. Interesting. All right. So I think I'm going to stop here for this tutorial. This is the end of part 1. If you check out part 2 of what can you do with a crayon, you will see how you can take all these techniques and use them in an image. Plus, we'll talk about how to use paint and marker with crayons as well. Thanks for watching.